Your Honor, I declare a mistrial. Where's my gavel? I have one.
In the criminal justice system, tripping over white barriers is considered especially heinous. On the planet Edo, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Mediators. These are their stories.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Welcome aboard.
Jean-Luc Picard to the Starship Enterprise.
You want to review your rapid progress?
That nonsense is centuries behind us. To the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, yeah?
And it's enough, damn it!
Tempo, mon capitan.
To the Starship Enterprise.
But you can't deny that you're still a dangerous, savage child race.
Of the planet Earth.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Jolan True, and welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a comedy Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead. So, Sarah, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I don't do New Year's resolutions. That's just not a thing I've ever done. I feel like maybe in my early 20s, I tried to be a resolutions person, but that's not who I am.
Isn't it just setting a goal?
Yeah. And I don't do that either.
You can do that anytime.
Yeah. Yeah. I get as a concept the idea of like, let's choose the time, the start of a new year as the start of a new opportunity. Like I get all the symbology around it and the thinking behind it, but I have never been like that kind of person. I'm not setting Q4 goals. I just don't care. I'm just trying to get through the day, man.
I know. That was me last year. Last year was a blur. I just was trying to survive.
I don't remember much of the past year. It's just, you're right. It's a blur. It's just gone.
You're just trying to survive. And then like, if you make goals, you can make them at any time.
Right.
It's just, you got to stick to them. And then you have to have some measurable, milestones. Okay. Did you do this or whatever?
Right. Are you a resolution person?
Normally not, but this year I thought I'm going to approach it differently. I'm going to make some changes in my life, but I'm not going to be like, okay, number one, I'm doing this and this and this.
Right.
If I don't do it, then I'm a failure. You know what I mean? But there's just some things I'm going to incorporate into my life that I didn't do before. And I'm forcing myself to just do things differently, because if you do the same things, you're always going to get the same thing. So,
right. Cool. We did make up some Star Trek resolutions that we shared on social media. If you're not following us on the socials, you can find us on all of them except X, pretty much. And so we made these up and shared them out for New Year's. And this is specifically the Star Trek The Next Generation characters, like in the moment of season 1, what their resolutions would be. So Picard is drink more tea. He hasn't had a cup of Earl Grey yet.
No, he hasn't.
Be nicer to Wesley, because hopefully that will get Beverly in the sack if he's nice to the boy. Maybe he can bang the mom. Riker's resolutions is to change his nickname from Bill to Will. We still haven't gotten there yet.
Does that happen in season 1? Or we don't know?
Yes, it does. I just don't remember where. Nail Nightbird on the trombone. We haven't seen the trombone yet either. It's such a classic Riker thing. Satisfy the visiting dignitaries, if you know what I mean.
Oh my.
Data's resolutions are to have another one-night stand with Lieutenant Yar. Read a fucking dictionary and find some loving family, right? He's all alone in the universe. He's he's got to find a family member that loves him.
Oh, well, that's true.
Tasha's New Year's resolutions: fight more, die less. Worf's, of course, is just fight more.
Yeah. Good luck with that, Tasha.
I've noticed in this next run of episodes that we're about to record, peek behind the pod, They've been trying to kill her this whole season. She
Oh my
had to
God,
fight-
especially Q. Especially Q.
Okay, so she was frozen by Q in the first episode, right? And in the courtroom.
Yeah, just for speaking out.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tried to kill her in that battle to the death with Lutan's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Q tries to kill her again, right? Puts her in the penalty box in an upcoming episode.
Yep.
Where she could just disappear.
Again, just for speaking out. He just likes to fuck with her, zaps her away.
Yeah. So they did a lot of trying to kill Tasha in this season.
Yeah.
Will they succeed? Stay tuned. Geordie LaForge, see a sunset. He'd love to see the sunset. Be more than the token blind dude. They really do like, and we're going to talk about this upcoming, but like they really do. And we made the joke, like send Geordie to look out the window to see the energy coming from the planet or whatever. Like that's his utility on this show right now. And I know it changes and I can't wait for it to change. But right now it's just like, oh my God, come on.
There's the depth is happening. It's coming.
It's slow, but it's coming.
But
yeah.
right now the character depth isn't much. The most depthful characters right now are Picard and number one.
And the least are Geordie and Worf, the black dudes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Nah. I mean, who knows? No, who knows what that means?
Geordie also would like to become friends with the robot.
Of course.
Deanna Troy's New Year's resolutions: survive a visit from my mom, get out of an arranged marriage, and bang Bill. Again, because I think she's already done it. Speaking of banging, Dr. Crusher is looking for a new father for Wesley in the new year, and off to the side she's written Jean-Luc ? With little hand-drawn hearts. She wants to go on more holodeck adventures. We haven't really seen that one yet. That's coming up. And and get Wesley onto the bridge. Well, she's already done that.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Yeah. Speaking of Wesley's New Year's resolutions, sit in the captain's chair again. That's kind of his like ongoing dream. That's his. He can't get off unless he's sitting in the captain's chair. He'd love to get admitted into Starfleet Academy, get high with the Traveler. That's on his list. And hot sex with that girl on the Edo planet.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But hey, a boy can dream.
Speaking of the Edo planet, this week we've got Edos and Speedos.
No, I wouldn't even call them Speedos. Speedos is being generous.
Well, let's put on less clothing, I guess, and beam down to another fucking paradise planet. As this week we discover Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 8, Justice.
Commander, you'll soon be getting an intruder alert.
What? That's something, sir.
Intruder alert, sir.
It's an old-style starship, sir. Constellation class, heading this way under impulse com.
Number one, kindly take charge of our guests until we have time to decide what we're going to do with them. Sir, number one, keep them out of my way.
The Enterprise is just coming off an Uber mission, and they discover a Class M planet nearby, slid into their orbit, and beamed an away team down to make first contact. What's the Prime Directive again?
The Prime Directive. How often have you broken it?
See, the Prime Directive has many different functions.
The Prime Directive
is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
It's a very interesting proposition. Let me think it over.
And boy, are they making contact. Yeah, they're supposed to, explore the galaxy. And then, I thought they'd be cautious about just beaming the fuck down to a planet, but no.
Right. And the Prime Directive, at this point, it doesn't specify, pre-warp civilization specifically, right? It's just like it's this nebulous idea of a lesser developed people.
Yeah.
This qualifies to me as like, don't come knocking. You remember the news stories like every 10 years or so, crazy Christian missionary goes to that one fucking island with the native
gets killed.
Yeah, exactly. With the native tribes that haven't, been contacted like ever and gets a fucking arrow through his head. That's what's happening here. Why are we going down to this planet?
Well, we know why. Okay,
yeah, we
on.
do. Yeah, we do.
We know why.
So on the bridge, Picard and Troy are trying to discuss Riker's report on the planet, but Dr. Oldflame bursts in And she's up everybody's ass about taking shore leave. And at this moment, my brain automatically started comparing my memory of this episode to the TOS episode, Shore Leave.
Mm-hmm.
Another fucking Paradise Planet story. McCoy's up on the bridge, harping on everybody to go take a fucking vacation. We beam down, and Paradise is not Paradise. This is another, again,
Exactly.
season 1, season 4.
But just done a little bit differently, because this time there's not machines or holograms. These are people.
Mm-hmm.
These are naked people.
Flesh, and blood people. Dr. Crusher thinks this would be a great place for the children, but Riker, Data, and Yar bust out of the turbo lift like, damn, these people like to fuck. Maybe this is not the place for teenage boys?
LaForge says they make love at the drop of a hat, and Tasha's like, any hat.
Oh my God. Tasha and Geordi share some of the reporting. These guys like to fuck, but they are serious law and order people. There's nothing negative any of the way team could find on the planet, but Data's got a sensor ghost off the starboard bow. Apparently, Worf picked this up earlier too, but not to worry. They opened a ticket with sensor maintenance, and sensor maintenance thinks it's just a glitch. You know, maybe do a reboot.
There's something on the wing. Something. Ace Ventura did a great Captain Kirk.
So they plan to beam down again, just a small group, and Picard invites Wesley to go.
Have the boy sent to the bridge, number 1.
My name is Wesley.
Wesley, I wanted to speak to you about the boy.
My name is Wesley.
He seems to have developed some sort of special attachment to the boy.
My name is Wesley.
Did he say Wesley? The boy?
My name is Wesley.
What is the boy doing here?
My name is Wesley.
The boy, where is he, please?
My name is Wesley.
The boy? He's outside.
My name is Wesley.
Wesley Crusher, report to the bridge. On the double.
And I quote, to evaluate this world as a place for young people to relax.
He trying to get Wesley laid, and that boy ain't ready. He ain't ready.
Like I said, if Picard's like, if I take care of Wesley, I'm going to get some Beverly. That's what's going to happen. And at first, this sounds like sloppy writing, but it is peak Picard is weird around kids. Like, that's absolutely what this is.
It's totally inappropriate. I'd be like, no, you're not letting the randy teenager go. But yeah, he is very odd around kids. He doesn't know the proper thing to do.
Picard says, if our observations corroborate the earlier reporting, then of course, shore leave is on me. That's great. You can all go. And then he turns to face the view screen and says, let's just hope it's not too good to be true. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like, and come on, this is a Paradise Planet episode. Of course it's too good to be true.
Absolutely.
They make love at the drop of a hat.
Any hat. Sounds wonderful for the children.
These people call themselves the Edo, and Riker, Tasha, Worf, Troy, and Wesley beam down. They're there to evaluate the planet as a potential shore leave location. And this was filmed at the Tillman Water Reclamation Plant in North LA.
I can't believe this wasn't our question.
I know. I was so fucking ready. I was ready. I had all the facts. I had them all.
We come back to this filming location, I think, don't we? I feel like we do this again. Anyway, we'll get to it.
It looks great. It's, beautiful and green, and there's everyone's half naked and they run everywhere.
This is Gene Roddenberry's personal brand of sexy right here, right? We've talked about how kind of horny he was, and this is like 1960s kind of like showing it all with the cutaway sides and all of that stuff. Yeah.
There was no room for underwear.
No,
none.
There was no room for bits and bobs or anything.
No, there were balls and tits just jiggling.
And here's another thing we should talk about. Of course, they're all fucking blonde-haired, blue-eyed, white European looking characters.
Yep.
So what is that saying about what paradise means to Star Trek in the 80s?
Good call. I should have, normally I would say that, but
Right. I would have expected you to be like, where are the black people at? Where are the white people? It's all white people.
It's all white people. Where the white women at? They're right there.
Right.
But
all
yeah,
of them.
I guess I'm just so used to seeing it that it's not that I don't call it out anymore. It's just, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But it was the 80s, you know.
So there's people making out in the grass. There's people making out in the chairs. Everybody's making out. And Picard's like, oh no, they've caught the naked now virus.
Well, and they're also running everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
With no underwear on, they're running everywhere.
You ever do gym class without a bra? Get the fuck out of here. Come on.
I can't even imagine having balls and not having anything to
supporting
hold them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then running everywhere? No.
Yeah, not fun. Not a comfortable situation.
One of the Edos runs up to them. They see them and they run up to Riker, and Worf is like ready to fight, and he sees them as potentially dangerous, but Riker stops him.
Riker's like, Jesus, Worf, calm down. Get your dicks sucked or something.
Oh my God. This is what this episode's going to be about.
Yes.
All these sexual jokes.
Listen, if you're listening to this podcast, you know what you're getting into. You know what you came here for.
Yeah.
We're going to deliver.
Yeah. This woman, of course, she comes up and like hugs Riker, and he like literally moans. I'm like, dude, really? Right there? Deanna's standing right there.
Oh, and Troy steps to him. She shoots a couple snarky comments back and forth, and she's giving him looks like, oh, really? This is the worst possible vacation, right? There's a really bad review on TripAdvisor or whatever. Rubicon 3, I was here with my ex who can literally read my fucking mind, and there's nearly naked women everywhere. Worst vacation ever. 1 star.
A blonde dude, half naked, balls hanging out, guy named Leader comes up and greets her, and it's like, I must welcome this lovely one. And I think this is like, consent is thrown out the window because they're just going into their personal space. He nuzzles her neck, and smells her, and she just pats his shoulders like, okay. She should have just embraced that.
Yeah, especially after like her maybe on again, off again. What are we to each other?
No idea what's happening with those two.
Right.
I mean, are they fucking? Are they not? I don't know.
Right. Clearly, you do not have an agreement because Riker's enjoying himself, so you might as well too, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Revan is played by Brenda Baki. Can't say her fucking name. Is it Brenda Baki? Is it Bocce? Is it Bakey? I don't know how you fucking say that name. B-A-K-K. Yes, very much.
Linda Bukaki. No, sorry, lady. Sorry.
B-A-K-K-E. You're not far off. It's pretty Bukaki.
It's probably Bach.
Yeah.
Or something.
Bach, yeah. Anyway, this was like right at the beginning of her acting career. And Jay Loudon, not a lot of credits on his list. This was kind of his big claim to fame, I guess. This shirtless, hot Edo guy. And apparently now he's an assistant professor of theater at the Metropolitan State College of Denver.
Yep.
We could have had this dude on.
Yeah, I read that. He's teaching acting techniques and fundamental stage combat. So that'd be cool.
I need to research shit way ahead of time so we can actually like reach out to these people and be like, come on the show. Tell us about running around naked in California.
With your balls hanging out.
Then the Edo dude throws himself at Tasha, and they clearly banged earlier. There's no question about that.
100%.
And for some reason, and maybe we should have put this in Troy's list of like not be the token mind reader for her resolutions. But for some reason, Riker asks Troy to list the emotions she's feeling from the Edo, which of course are healthy sensuality, friendship, and horniness. When Revan throws herself at Worf, she's like, and I welcome this huge one. And Worf says, huge too.
God. Oh, jeez. Good one.
Thank you.
reluctantly returns the hug, and he just says, "Nice planet."
He is like king of the one-liners in this series, and I love it. I'm here for it.
And that's his purpose. You know, we talked about earlier, maybe he's a token right now, he and
Right.
Geordi, but the one-liners are all so good.
Yes.
Poor Wes, super uncomfortable. And Revon, she's like, "Oh, a teenager. I don't know what to do with you."
Why did they bring him down here? They should not. There was no reason to have this boy come down with them.
This it's like bringing a child to a fucking strip club. He should not be here.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But there he is. And she's like, "I don't know what to do with you." And Wesley's like, "Whatever you usually do." She gives him like an awkward hug.
Oh, God.
So Riker's like, "Well, we'd like to bring other people down, but we can certainly limit the numbers. Just let us know." And Leator is like, "Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
We can discuss it. We can discuss this later at the council."
Yeah. How big an orgy would you like? We're down.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "Let's go play." And Riker's like, "Play?" And their play is really just at love, is what Revan says. "We're playing at love, unless you don't like to do that."
And they're all like very much walking over themselves. "Oh no, we absolutely, yep, play's the thing. We love that.
Right.
We're here for that." But that leaves poor young Wesley a little left out.
Mm-hmm.
But not to worry, there's some Edo teenagers back at the council chambers too. But like any teen boy on a paradise planet, Wesley's like, "I don't know, man. I'm having a hard enough time keeping this tent down as it is."
Poor guy. That's the worst. He's so uncomfortable.
Leator's like, "The rules here are simple. Nobody has to do anything that makes them uncomfortable." That's a pretty decent rule. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the answer to, like, I don't shake hands anymore. But there's a cultural expectation that when you go into a job interview or whatever, you're supposed to shake hands. I don't do that anymore.
No.
And I like the idea of a planet that's like, shaking hands makes you uncomfortable. Don't greet people that way.
I didn't know you didn't do that.
Oh, no.
I don't really care. It's when you meet someone to just kind of stand there awkwardly and,
like we do at the table all the time when we table for our show.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And don't touch. I mean, I just have
Give
this,
them a,
and it's,
I don't know, give them a live
I
long
don't
and
mind.
prosper.
I don't mind shaking hands. I've got my hand sanitizer, so I don't mind shaking.
My issue is not as much. I don't know how the hell we got into this.
You said
my issue is not so much like the germ. We just lived through COVID. We should know better.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe equal parts that, and also that it's such a power play. It's such a, there's so much machismo wrapped up in it, and like the patriarchy, because dads used to teach their sons that you got to have a good, hard, firm handshake, boy. And people are going to think you're weak. It's a sign of like effeminate, and feminine is bad because hashtag patriarchy. And that's partly why I don't like it.
I mean, I would say it depends on the situation. Like if we're standing at the booth, I maybe hug if I've seen someone again, and if they're okay with it. If they reach out to hug me, I'm okay with that. The whole thing, if I do shake someone's hand, I do feel a little taken aback. I don't know if that's the word. When it's a dude and he's doing the firm handshake on me, I'm like, really?
Right.
Like,
know your audience.
Who are you trying to impress or dominate? Because it's not necessary.
Right. Yeah, like the Trump handshake, right? Where he shakes your hand, he pulls you into him or whatever. Like, yeah, it's that dominant.
He's mentally unstable, so I don't even account that. That's not even. But yeah, there's something wrong with that dude. We'll just leave it at that.
Apparently, these people on the planet stay so fit because they run everywhere, and this moment was the cheesiest moment in the whole episode. I think the Edo are like, "Oh wait, you can run, can't you?" And Wesley's like, "Can we run? Can we run? We can run, right, Commander Riker?" Like, calm the fuck down, boy.
Look what I can do. And then yeah. And he takes off running with the kids. Riker's like, yeah, that's the custom, running. And they all start running.
We get a nice running montage, which ends outside the council building where Revan is impressed with Riker's stamina. And and they pass Wesley off to a group of young Edo, and they all run off. And inside this building, we are treated to all the butt cheek peep and side boob, oiled up men,
and side balls, and
sexy Tai Chi. Yeah.
It's near orgies. People are kissing in corners, and it's wild to see. Like, for 1987, and I think I'm 14 at this time, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, wow.
Revan and Leotor announce the visitors and send them off to get sucked and fucked. And as they all leave, there are a few moments of face acting here between Revan and Leotor. And I just wondered, like, what you thought of that. Like, it felt maybe Revan is disappointed that Riker and Worf went off with some other bimbos to set up a spit roast. Like, was she a little jealous of, like, oh, I was hoping they would spit roast me?
I wanted the big one. I don't know.
I don't know. It was just a weird look. There was a bit of face acting there that was like, I wonder what that meant. Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Data enters the bridge, a little disappointed that he didn't get picked for the away team, considering he's fully functional and programmed in multiple techniques.
They're still investigating the glitch in the system. Both Data and the Forge have done their due diligence, and it's not a glitch. It's like a shadow. It's like it's not really there, but it is. It's like out of their dimension. So they try to hail it.
Now, I do want to point out here, Data does not ask permission to do this.
Oh, that's true.
He just picks up the phone and pokes some numbers. Like, on Kirk's Enterprise, you wouldn't dare do that unless Kirk gave the order, Uhura, call that thing.
Yeah, that's true. But I think it's good because it's their job to have a mind of their own.
Yes, they have some agency.
Whereas TOS, nobody could shit without Kirk telling them how to wipe.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah. And I'm glad.
Anyway, that triggers the whatever is out there to show itself. And what we see is this semi-transparent, like, satellite-looking thing.
Yeah. It's some sort of satellite, like, space station sort of thing, but it's like, it's like not fully materialized.
Dude, this is bullshit. Either hook me up with some fine Edo ass or get me the hell away from you creepy middle-aged swingers so I can find it on my own.
Geordi puts up the shields and deflectors and heats up the phasers just in case. Data is trying to translate a signal that they got back from the satellite. And Ensign Carrot Top up at Tasha's station reports that sensors show this thing is half there. Remember that episode where the Enterprise gets caught in the planet with the old Brinks home security system, and we were like, why don't they just send Geordi to look out a window? This time, Picard sends Geordi out to the window. Yes. This is what I'm saying. He's the token, like, visor guy.
Sensor guy.
Yeah.
The ship's away, but the thing is, they have a ship with amazing sensors.
Yeah.
And they need Geordi.
Yeah.
So Picard's like, okay, have a real look, though. And so Geordi gets up and leaves a bridge and goes to the observation lounge where I guess the window's bigger. And it's pointing to that side of the ship. He looks. He says it's something that he's not seen before. He does a spectral analysis and, well, it's not really there. But that's what they already came to the conclusion of.
Right.
It's sort of there, but not really.
This is no new information here.
Right.
Like, the episode survives without this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Data has translated the message, stand by. And suddenly there's something coming out of the structure. This bright white orb of light sort of dances its way from the satellite to the Enterprise, and we get some fun shots of it inside the ship. It kind of looks like a blue bubble, and it's like going through the walls, sets off an intruder alert.
People are walking in the hallway, and it's cutting them off, and it's just floating and doing whatever the fuck it wants.
And Picard is losing his patience.
Because they can't tell him anything. And they're like, well, the intruder relays just show something. And then Data says it's something really small. And then some other officer says, well, it's an intruder alert shows something. But Picard's like, why is everything a something or a whatever? I want some answers.
And then the orb rises out of the floor in front of Data and Geordi. They're unable to contact the away team now, and then the ship shakes as the orb speaks. You want to do God voice or shall I?
Sure, I'll do God voice. State the purpose. State the purpose of what you have done.
This Ito Brink's planetary security system voice isn't credited, so I think we should just assume that it was Jimmy doing.
Sure.
That's what we did on TOS. He did all the voices.
After Picard introduces himself, the Ito voice says, state the purpose of your visit here. And then Picard is like, well, we've sent down an away team to make peaceful contact. And then the Ito, again, he says, do you plan to leave life forms here? And I was thinking, if by life forms you mean bodily fluids and sperm,
oh my.
then yes.
They might be impregnating some life forms here.
Yes. But again, Picard's like, no, we're just visiting.
It wants to make sure that they don't plan on, messing around with the Ito, which it calls its children. Why has it only now suddenly interacted with the Enterprise? If you're a Brink's planetary security system and some ship rolls up and they're out here colonizing, wouldn't you have shown yourself right away and made with the loud warnings?
The minute either they showed up, or the minute that they beamed someone down to my planet, then I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Data stands up, and now the orb is between him and Picard. And when Picard's explanation of colonizers isn't as clear as it should have been, the orb goes over to Data, and somehow Data knows that it's asking what Data's TCP IP address is so it can connect to the LAN and get some info.
Can I get your password, please? Basically, Picard pimps him out. He's like, well, if there's any way of finding out whatever there is Data, then
you got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it. Do it for the the greater good. So he pimps him out. The globe attaches itself to Data's forehead, and then fucking Data passes the fuck out.
Down on the planet, the teenagers are playing. One of the boys is like, bet you can't do this and keep your dick and balls in your shorty shorts. And he proceeds to walk on his hands. Did they tape? They had to have taped some stuff down, okay?
I think the youngsters were wearing a little bit more modest.
They were, yeah.
But yeah, I thought about that too.
Wesley does some cartwheels.
Look what I can
do. And then Judith is like, hey, I've got something you and I can do with a stick and some balls.
Oh my.
She wants him to teach her how to play ball, but that'll require a bat or a branch about yay long. And Judith is like, wow, that's long. How thick?
Oh my God.
Oh,
well, first, God. She's like, well, I know something you can teach me. And he gets all uncomfortable, but that's not, he assumes it was sexual. And that wasn't really what she wanted to. She really wanted to learn how to play some sort of fucking game.
So Judith Jones, I will tell you I think I watched most of TNG in syndication.
Mm-hmm.
Not during its initial run. So I too was maybe early teenager when I first encountered these episodes, and like any attracted to the female gender person as a teenager, I had some strong feelings for Judith Jones in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Judith Jones is.
They just say Ito girl.
Yeah, she's the girl in this group of teenagers that shows a lot of side boob and wants to check out Wesley's stick. She did an episode of Hill Street Blues, Falcon Crest. She did some episodes of that. Growing Pains, Matlock, Step by Step. Oh, I'd forgotten about that show. Murder, She Wrote, L.A. Law, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Oh, 8 episodes of Port Charles. That's one I never got into.
Port Charles. Oh, is that a soap opera?
Yeah.
She didn't look familiar to me.
No, and I don't know that she goes on to do anything that I would recognize. But anyway, I feel like I've read or heard her speak about this experience in a not so great positive way.
Oh, really?
I feel I don't know. I didn't look it up. We don't do research on this show. So they head off to the gardens to find a stick. As Riker walks through the council chambers, Ito people are making out, others are playing games. Like, this is all they ever do.
Yeah.
And he finds Worf, who is standing at attention and not in that kind of way.
His soldiers, we don't know what's happening with his other soldiers.
He's a warrior. He doesn't have time for pleasure. Besides, with his 2 giant dicks and Klingon aggression, he'd have to restrain himself or he'd hurt these poor, fragile, human-ish women.
And Riker's like, well, if anyone else said that, I think they'd be bragging, but I really think that's probably true.
No, Worf's like, watch this, and he splits an Ito woman in half.
Freaking chicken wishbone. Oh my God.
Riker tries to call the Enterprise and discovers there's no dial tone. Maybe nothing to be worried about, but he says, gather all the Starfleets together just in case. And Worf's like, including Wesley, the boy, this poor kid.
And of course, they're like, fuck, it's Wesley,
Mm-hmm.
Troy immediately senses there's a problem, and Riker says, we can't contact the ship. And Troy knows for sure, well, it's nothing these people have done. I can sense them. Their minds are open. So it's not them.
Worf goes over to Tasha, who was apparently in the middle of hearing all about the legal system of this Eden planet. And it turns out that, like most humanoids, they were once pretty savage. Lots of crime, but now there's no crime. And they defunded the police so hard that they only have a few left, and they're called mediators. And they're only needed in one place every day, the punishment zone. This is a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
The mediators, band name.
Oh, I can see a t-shirt.
Okay. Describe the t-shirt.
It's a dude, a white dude with the costume on, but his balls are super pronounced.
You could have one ball hanging out each side of the fabric.
Absolutely. Like truck nuts, but except it's like truck nuts. Except it's
oh my God.
What? We are never going to get through this episode.
So the mediators pick out a random place each day, the punishment zone. And since nobody knows where a zone will be or when, nobody risks death.
How is that fucking fair, though?
No, it's not.
But yeah, it's random, and it's not a way to keep order, but I get it's a way to install fear. But anyway, they risk death.
Commit any crime, get killed. And that's, pretty simple, right? But it's worked for ages. And that sounds like, humanity has had a history of like, I think I've gone on the record on the show before of being anti-death penalty in like every case, because I don't think our government should be killing people. And that makes me pretty anti-war too. But this is like that system on steroids, because any little crime, right? It's not just, oh, you're a murderer, that warrants the death penalty. If you nick a loaf of bread from the convenience store, you also get killed.
Or you just walk in the wrong place.
Yeah.
You get killed.
Yeah. One punishment for all crime.
And then Worf and Tasha are like, wait, what? Death?
Tasha's like foreshadows the whole thing. Tasha's like, hang on, even a stupid small rule like keep off the grass. And Revan's like, of course, but nobody's stupid enough to cross a white barrier around a forbidden area like that. Smash cut to Wesley tripping over a white barrier and crashing into some freshly planted flowers.
And then also, Tasha also has another great point. She's like, well, who tells visitors about this shit?
Yeah, but I also feel like the visitors should ask for a copy of the local laws for Data to read and summarize real fast, like throw it in Chat GPT and be like, give me a summary.
Agree.
Why wouldn't they have thought of this before beaming down to any planet?
They are quite fragile, sir.
Worf, if anyone else had said that, I'd suspect he was bragging.
Bragging, sir.
Well, so they're playing innocently, and Wesley's like, throw the ball and I'll go out and get it. Throw it in front of me and I'll run and get it. And then that's when he crashes into this greenhouse-looking flowers.
Judy's reaction to young Wesley falling into the flowers was fucking fantastic, too. This is a great piece of acting. No! Wes!
So, the look on her face is like, oh, no.
And a couple of mediators come running up, and they're wearing the same outfits, but gray instead of white. So that separates them. And Judy tries to argue. I don't know if she likes to be called Judy. I should just call her Judith. And Judith tries to argue for Wesley. He's not from around here. He doesn't know. And the mediator's like, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Ain't that some Earth bullshit? So Riker and Troy run up, and Wesley explains what happened. And the mediator's like, wait, you admit that? Freely? And Wesley puffs his chest out and proudly proclaims, I'm with Starfleet. We don't lie.
I know. And then Riker's trying to apologize too, and just like, sorry, it won't happen again. But the mediator is saying, well, you know what? It's already too late.
Speaking of too late, Tasha and Worf come running up to warn them about these strange laws, but they're too late as well. And Riker's like, I thought you told me you reviewed their laws. And Tasha's like, I did, but it didn't say anything about punishment. Your Honor, I declare a mistrial. Where's my gavel? I have one.
In the criminal justice system, tripping over white barriers is considered especially heinous. On the planet Edo, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Mediators. These are their stories.
Wesley can't be held accountable for not knowing the law when the planet's representatives did not provide said law to them. I declare this a mistrial. Off to the next adventure. Mediator number 1 asks if there were any witnesses to this crime, and one of the teenage boys is like, yeah, I saw the whole thing, but it was my fault, totally my fault, not his. But that's enough evidence for the mediators. We have an admission of guilt, plenty of witnesses, and a busted flower planter. Guilty. And he pulls this needle out of a pouch on his belt.
Jesus Christ. First of all, he's hardly wearing anything. And then he's got a hypodermic needle. Y'all just be carrying poison around because y'all ready to kill people?
And it's on his belt, like, as if you're running, and like if you doubled over, that thing would poke right through the little holster and go into your leg.
We just work here. We don't know.
And they're like, boy, are you ready for punishment? And Riker's like, punishment? What do you mean punishment? And the mediator says, death, of course. Don't make it harder for the boy.
The meteor goes to get Wesley, and Riker knocks him down. And Tasha and Worf are always ready to fight, so they draw their phasers. And the mediator drops the needle, and Tasha is like, oh no, this is a syringe. This is poison.
Wesley's like, you were going to fucking kill me?
He has no idea at this point what's going on. All he knows is he tripped over a thing and fell into some flowers.
But apparently, loophole, while they're standing around arguing about this, that particular zone expired because a mediator says, if this zone were still in effect, you would all deserve death. Because they had interfered with the law, I guess? Is that the reasoning? But if they're not inside the barrier, does it count? They're all standing outside that zone. This was a stupid loophole.
And then also, the mediators are like, you said that you were friends, and this is how you act?
He's like, what the hell? I slept with half of you.
I know.
This is how you treat us?
And Riker gives one last-ditch effort to contact the Enterprise, because they're in real trouble now.
But there's still no dial tone. But on the bridge, Crusher is scanning Data, who is still on the floor with an orb in his forehead. His readings are normal for him, but he's still not conscious. And while they're chatting, the orb detaches and floats away. And suddenly the comms work again, and Tasha and Riker are calling. They might need Picard down there. And I liked that they considered that Beverly might be able to hear this conversation, and instead of being like, holy shit, you guys, Wesley's going to get executed.
Imagine standing there and hearing that about your son.
Right. But they had a little, they were like, one of the away team members is in a little legal trouble. You do the lawyer Picard thing really well. Maybe you should probably come down here and be his defense attorney. But Data still hasn't rebooted yet, so Crusher's going to take him to sickbay. I really liked this early approach to Data, too. A couple of times now I've thought, should they be taking him to engineering?
No, I mean, they've always taken him to sickbay, I think, right?
And by treating this as a medical condition and not a technological one, it helps establish Data's identity as a person, not just a machine.
Right, and their feelings toward him as well, because they do actually care.
Yeah.
You know, they give a shit.
I'm with Starfleet. We don't lie.
Picard beams down and they're in the council chambers and he's kind of asking for like a download from Troy, but she's like, no, these people are honest, almost to a fault, and there's no need to comment privately on what's going on. Here comes Leator in his camel toe, and he leads Picard to some benches and they start peace talks, I guess you could say.
The way this was staged, it almost looks like Picard is on trial here. So he's seated by himself, like in the middle, and then to his left sit a group of the Edo, and to his right sit his officers. So it feels very much like courtroom drama sort of setup here.
Yeah.
But they don't do the night court bit. This isn't a come before the judge moment.
It's an informal sort of discussion, but but now they've gone from the friendly atmosphere to, okay, this is official. And that's when they're talking about their justice system and what's happened with the boy. And Picard wants to know, where is the boy? And in accordance with the Prime Directive, now they bring in the Prime Directive. Riker does.
Right.
He says,
yes,
I've allowed them to hold him pending the outcome of this discussion.
So in this discussion about respect for the law, Picard says, our culture respects laws too, maybe just a little less rabid MAGA about it. And part of this conversation is about how humanity has evolved beyond the death penalty. And I just thought, like, wow, there must be, like, this has to be one of the little things that I learned from Trek along the way that helped develop and form the life stance that I have today.
They have a discussion about the death penalty and how, like, humans evolved. And Riven says, but when you did have the death penalty, was it believed necessary to do so? And, I guess some people thought it was necessary, but they've learned to detect the seeds of criminal behavior.
I don't know that I like her argument here. Like, okay, we used to, the Green Mile is just stuck in my brain for some reason right now. And I haven't watched it in 100 years. And I love that movie. I love the movie.
In ages.
But we used to strap people into a chair and shoot electricity through their body.
Cruel.
Until they died. And it was one of the most cruel ways of execution. I mean, beheading is awful cruel too. Like, there was a lot of ways that we put people to death.
Yeah.
And
hang them up and let them die. I mean, why cruel?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And her argument that, well, you when you did it, you thought it was necessary. Yes, true. But this is a moment for maybe you to learn something from us, which is that is cruel and maybe there's a better way. And I know we're not trying to influence your culture here, but
we are.
But we are.
And then Leator took offense, as I would too. I'm not playing devil's advocate because I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm playing, if you came to my house and started telling me what I should be doing just because your kid fucked up in my house. And he's like, oh, well, maybe we're not as advanced as they are. And since you're so advanced in other ways, then why don't you fucking use your powers and your powerful ship and blow, and take Wesley? You could do that because you're so powerful and we're just obviously so, stupid. He was so passive aggressive and he took offense to that.
Picard's like, well, unfortunately, we have a law. Call it our Prime law, and it says we can't interfere with your world's laws and customs. So they've delayed the execution until sundown, which is quickly approaching now. And Picard's like, well, I'll take your word for it that the boy is safe for now. I'd like to ask you about this strange object orbiting your world. It's like a vessel, maybe, not completely solid, kind of like it's there, but it's not.
It's like not changing the subject or anything, but...
And Revan's like, oh, God, you mean God.
And they really don't know for sure, but Leodor says, well, God is said to be somewhere up there protecting us, so it's got to be him.
And when he wants to show his power, you better watch out. So they've had some interaction with this thing before. So Crusher's on the phone, Data's awake, and he wants to talk urgently. Troy whispers Wesley like she wants Picard to tell her what's going on. But he doesn't still. He hangs up the call and explains, like, I want to have that conversation in person. That's not something we talk about on the phone.
Yeah. She will freak the fuck out.
So again, he reconfirms that Wesley is safe until sundown and then invites one of them to come up to the Enterprise.
And they're like, so you mean as a hostage?
Picard's like, no, not like that. I need you to identify something. And so Revan goes with them.
He's like, I'm trying to see something. Can you come with me? I'm trying to see something.
Revan is the classic fish out of water here on the Enterprise. She's just looking around in awe and wonder at everything. And they bump into Dr. Crusher, who has now read the report and knows about Wesley. And Picard kind of like brushes her off. Like, we don't have time for this right now. I'm doing this God thing. Can we just come back to your son later?
Yeah.
Again, Revan's like, clearly you're more powerful. Why don't you just take the boy and leave? But instead of explaining the PD all over again, Picard leads her into the starboard observation lounge to show her the planet below, her planet below, but also this strange satellite thing. And of course, the minute she sees this thing, she's on her knees in worship pose.
Oh my.
Yep, that's God, all right. And she's so shook she can't even speak. Like, they're asking her questions and she's just kind of nodding the answers.
But then the entity from the satellite pipes up and he says, "Return my child." Crusher doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. And she's like, "Return." And then suddenly the satellite just starts coming towards the Enterprise. Picard like jumps into action and he's like, oh shit. he hails the transporter room. He puts his comm badge on Revan and he's like, transport this bitch out of here before we get blown up.
Okay, so you know how we talked many times during TOS about how does the beaming and the locking on work? So now we're starting to establish like the comm badge is something that can be locked onto and beam the thing attached to it.
So they beam her away, and then just as they beam her away back to her planet, the satellite backs off and goes back to its position in the sky.
Beverly mentions about like how protective this Edo god is of its children. And speaking of children, mine, Picard feels bad about having to force that situation just now. It scared Revan so much. And Troy says, of course she was terrified. Sharing an orbit with God is no small experience.
It's just a fucking ship, people. Like, really?
Finally, time to meet up with Data. And on the way, that's why he beamed up, remember? They called down and said, Data wants to talk to you. Finally, time to meet up with Data. And on the way, Picard and Crusher talk about the Wesley problem. And Beverly is just like really on edge now. You know, imagine being a parent in this situation and you haven't seen your kid since it happened. Like they're down at the police station and you're getting a phone call. Like,
and Picard isn't telling her shit.
Right?
Wasn't telling her shit.
Right.
So he assures her, we've got until sundown. Nothing's going to happen. But she's like, he's facing fucking execution.
And she kind of apologizes for being so wound up and says, well, if he were your son, you'd be just as frightened. And he cuts in with, but I am. Is he starting to think of Wesley as his son? Like, what does this mean?
I don't know.
He's just as frightened, yes, but like,
I think maybe not read into it.
This is part of the fuck strategy. This is part of the fuck Beverly strategy. That's what this is.
The New Year's resolution? I mean, I don't think it read into it. It's just showing like he is concerned for Wesley.
Yes.
And so off they go to sick bay. The report from Data says, hey, the entity made a good choice. I was the right person to communicate with them. Even though it wasn't really easy, he was they had their fingers all in his brain. All in his positronic brain.
Brain! What is brain?
But they stopped before they overloaded his circuits. The thing that he was able to surmise is it's not one entity. It's like a bunch of different ones. It has a vastly superior intelligence and a power level. It seems to have created the Edo, or at least influenced their development, overseeing their society to maintain harmony. This entity has also established the rigid legal system that has gotten Wesley facing execution.
And whatever these entities are, they know that the Edo think of them as God, but they think it's just like harmless and appropriate for Edo in their current stage of evolution or whatever. We also learned that this alien vessel or satellite or space station or whatever it is occupies several dimensions. So somehow like they can be in several realities at once, maybe, or something like that.
That's why they're ghostly.
But one thing is clear. This is their star system, and we probably fucked up trying to colonize around here. And Data gets another Data moment. He says, of course, there are 3,004 other planets in this star cluster, which we could have colonized, the largest and closest of which, and he starts to go off.
Picard cuts him off, and he's like, don't babble. And of course, they go off on a little bit of a tangent saying, I don't babble. What are you talking about? I wasn't aware that I ever babble. And then he starts babbling about, well, it might be from time to time that I have considerable information to communicate, and you may question the way I organize it. And Picard is like, Jesus Christ, just stop and just organize it in brief answers. We don't have a lot of time.
So the whole thing backfires on Picard because Data takes everything too literally. Picard asks if they accept our presence here, and Data just says, undecided, sir.
So then he has to backtrack. He's like, look, feel free to volunteer any important info.
Yeah, I didn't mean you couldn't talk. Just don't go on and on and on and on and on like you tend to do. Data believes these aliens are now observing them, not to prosecute and judge.
What an interesting idea.
But out of curiosity. He says he doubts the aliens expect them to abide by their value systems, but because of the TCP/IP uplink, they know all about the Prime Directive, and if we violate the PD, they might consider us deceitful and untrustworthy. And besides, remember their warning about not fucking around with their kids below.
Well, and Crush is like, well, they're fucking around with my kid because they're going to execute him, and I'm not going to let that happen. And then Data makes a remark about her emotion, of motherhood, and she says, shut up, and storms out of the room. And then he says, okay, maybe I do babble.
Babble, sir? I'm not aware that I ever babble, sir.
Captain's log from break. Picard is feeling some type of way about being watched like this. If they were communicating, that'd be one thing, but being watched isn't his cup of Earl Grey. You ever get into that, Allie? Little exhibitionism?
Being watched?
Letting people watch?
No. Well, I once lived in a house back in Florida.
Okay.
And we had just moved in. It was a brand new neighborhood. We had our house built, and they were building other houses, and we didn't have a fence, and we faced the backyard of another house, and they had just moved in. I remember looking out the window because it was huge, and I'm looking at this guy's back door, and not that back door, but looking at they had a glass in their door so you could see everything. He looked right at me, dropped his underwear. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. He just dropped trow and looked right at me on purpose. Yeah, that was my only
How long did you live there?
17 years.
Jesus Christ. Were there any further interactions of any type with this neighbor?
No.
Oh, okay.
Mm-mm.
Weird. All right.
Other than they accidentally mowed into my yard and really fucked up my yard, and we had to go talk to them. But other than that, over 17 years, no, that was it. I saw his penis, and
wow,
cool, yeah.
Wow. All right, you shared, I'll share. Once upon a time, I worked in the adult entertainment industry as a webmaster, as they were called back in the day.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I ran porn sites, I promoted porn sites, I produced porn sites, and if one knows where to look on the old Wayback Machine, one can still find archived copies of those old websites that I may or may not have appeared on once upon a time.
Oh my goodness. You appeared on them.
Oh yeah, okay. My first wife and I had a website, and then at the time, so I was still presenting mail. I hadn't figured out my shit and transition yet, and so that was during the time where I would have described myself maybe as a crossdresser, but I hadn't quite realized that it wasn't. This wasn't just an expression of who I am, which is what I came to learn. But I initially thought like, oh, this is something I do that makes me feel good for some reason. And so I would have used the word crossdresser at the time. And the crossdresser form of me also had a website.
Okay. Nice. I did not know that at all.
Yep. There is there's old Sarah porn out there. It's not great.
You had your own Edo planet. I
didn't make very much money. I couldn't tell you whether it's more or less successful than this podcast. So there you go.
Hey, that's cool. I didn't know.
Yeah, there you go.
So you had people watch and I was forced to watch.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, thanks for bringing it back to that because I'd forgotten what got us there. I had some performance anxiety. We tried to do some like lives, like live cam stuff.
It's not, I imagine it's not easy. You've got to have a certain, I don't know, comfort.
There's a mindset. Right.
Comfort to be able to do that. I applaud them because I would be terrified to do that. So I applaud people who can't do it.
What I have learned since from the professional porn industry, and there's, the questionable, not ethics, but safety, I guess, maybe of this, is like a lot of porn actors with penises do injections into their dick to keep it hard.
Oh, fuck. I thought they just took Viagra, but Jesus Christ, a fucking needle?
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
Needle to the dick. No, thank you. Anything's going to make me not hard, it's a needle to the dick. Okay? Anyway.
And then you're hard and you don't want to be because you just had a needle. Oh,
right?
Geez.
Jesus
anyway.
Christ.
Okay, that went down a rabbit hole. Where were we?
That's what we do. Data finds Picard deep in thought in the observation lounge. And we get another moment here where I feel like some really strong autistic connection with Data. Picard wants to talk some more. And Data wants clarification on like what level of conversation.
Yeah.
Is this small talk? Is this an info dump? What are we doing here?
Picard apologizes. I appreciate that.
But he's like, I'm sorry, I said that you babbled. You don't babble. And Data's like, no, but I do. Like, this is the autistic character. You're just stating a fact. That's not offensive to me.
Right.
Right. And if everybody would just be that direct, the world would be easier for autistic folks to navigate. But we don't. The neurotypicals rule the world, right? So we walk on eggshells and concern ourselves with
feelings,
offending each other and the sensitivity, and for the sake of neurotypical feelings.
Right.
And also importantly here, these are the things that I never picked up like until now or on the rewatch. Picard recognizes that Data's unique perspective as this neurospicy kind of person is valuable to him because it's a different perspective than his.
And even though it gets on his nerves, he just needs to stop snapping at him for it.
Yeah. And that's why he's chosen Data to talk through this problem, to get this unique perspective. So Picard can't bring himself to let Wesley be killed. He's convinced that's not what the Prime Directive was intended for. We're not talking about the letter of the law here. We're talking about the intent. But since the Edo god scanned Data's brain, it knows about the PD, and we're pretty much expecting that they are talking about the letter of the law, not the intent of the law.
Yeah.
So Picard's like, how do I explain refusing to obey their laws down there when we have our own law? And worse, now it's a trolley problem. Would refusing to let them execute Wesley move the target from the needs of the one to the needs of the many, the whole ship and crew?
Yep.
So there's a lot going on here that Picard's trying to like ethic his way through. And I love this. Data straight up asks, would you choose one life over 1,000? And Picard's like, yeah, that's not a binary question, man. That's not an easy answer. This is the gray of humanity.
And then he talks about why are they so certain it's a god? And he turns the conversation to that. And of course, anytime you have a not developed civilization and you show them something super powerful, of course they're going to think that that's what a god is.
It's ancient aliens, Allie.
I know. I love that show. But Data says, like, whatever they are now, those entities in the satellite, they once existed in this dimension. They were probably like us, but somehow they've evolved considerably. And it's like they forgot that they were like them at some point.
Yeah, and maybe that shared history or that shared
existence or
experience, shared experience gives them some common ground. Some common ground to start from.
Is that a song?
And I said, what about breakfast at Tiffany? She said
I didn't know any other part of that song. But
wow. Okay, so anyway, they're hoping there's some shared values here. And this is great stuff. We are always quick to point out how different we are from each other. But Star Trek suggests perhaps if we can come together over the things that are common, our shared values and experiences, maybe then we can figure out how to work out our issues. This is the premise of Star Trek.
Yeah. Picard wants to know, why would such an advanced being want to protect Ito? And Data's like, well, maybe they're children by comparison. A race who they've planted there, maybe they feel responsible for them. Like, you know, how we do when we colonize people, you know.
Colonizers be colonizing.
Yeah. And so Crusher comes in and she's like, okay, now that I've fulfilled my professional obligations, I'm going to go down to that planet and kick some ass and get my son back. And of course, he's expected this. He's going to go with her and he's going to try and resolve it without any major bloodshed. But he does say, you know, whatever the cost, I'll do what I can to make sure that your son is not killed.
Yeah. He says, in this particular trolley problem, I will throw the switch to save your son if I have to, at the risk of anything.
The Prime Directive.
Yeah. And he's like, I trust you'll remember this the next time I get a little randy.
You owe me.
Remember that time I saved your boy? Down in the council chambers, Tasha goes with Leotor to get Wesley for this proceeding. And when Crusher and Picard beam in, now there's a new problem. Revan now thinks of the Starfleets as gods too, and she kneels before him and hands him his comm badge back. And Picard's like, get up, woman, we're not gods. Why, should one of you like to shoot an arrow into my chest? I'll prove it to you. That's a call forward, friends. Wesley's brought in, and for some reason, he stops short of running to hug his mother. Surely the Ito would have been okay with that, right?
Well, I think it's not that. I think he's just trying to be a man. This is Wesley being put in an adult situation, and he's trying not to run to his mama, even though you know he wants to.
Yeah.
So I think that's what that was about. And I don't really think the Ito, I mean, they're not shy on affection, so I don't think that was it.
So Picard's like, okay, look, I'm not going to let you kill this boy, but I have to figure out a way to help you understand my decision. And Picard's explanation is basically like, look, we have laws too, and one of those says that I have to protect my people from harm. So surely you understand that, right? Wrong. Leotor's like, you know, we didn't ask you to come here in the first place. Isn't that what we talked about at the top of this episode? We're into Prime Directive territory now. Why the hell would they have even beamed down to this place?
Right.
So the mediators believe if they were to just take Wesley, then Picard should be put to death too for breaking both the Ito law and the PD. And Picard's like, yeah, I'll have admirals up my ass for this one. But the mediator thinks that's not quite a good enough punishment. It'll be God who punishes them. And Wesley's tracking here. And he's like, hang on. If they don't kill me, they'll kill everyone? That doesn't seem like the right thing to do here. I know I'm just 15 or whatever, but Jesus Christ, you guys.
Picard's like, stay out of this, boy. He's like, but I am in this. I'm the cause of this.
And good for Wesley for pushing back, right?
Yeah, like I said, he's trying to be an adult. He's trying to uphold the Starfleet bullshit, you know?
Yeah. So Picard gathers everyone to beam up, and Wesley and Beverly have their emotional moment here. And Leotor's pissed that their laws have been violated and asks, what of justice? And Tasha fires back, what of justice to Wesley? Does he deserve to die?
Yeah, for stepping on some fucking flowers? No.
Right? No.
But I get it. I do get it. And so Picard is like, fuck this. We're out of here. Damn your justice. And he calls up to the Enterprise 6 to beam up, but nothing happens. Suddenly they've been cut off from communication of the Enterprise again.
So it seems the Edo god is listening and has blocked their transporter signal and communications and all the things. This resolution comes really quickly, and I know we're running out of tape, but way to pack it all into the last 3 minutes, guys. Jesus. Crusher declares their god is unfair. Wesley had no way to know what he did was a crime, let alone one punishable by death. And the Republican mediator's like, well, ignorance of the law is no defense. And Picard gets a hero speech. And I love this god shot, too. So the camera, like, cranes up so that it's looking down at Picard as he looks upward, speaking toward the Edo god above him, and says, I say to any creature who may be listening, there can be no justice so long as laws are absolute. Even life itself is an exercise in exceptions.
Boom.
Riker adds, yeah, when has justice ever been as simple as a rule book? And the transporter initializes and off they go.
Yeah, suddenly it's fine. And I guess the Edo god was listening.
Back on the Enterprise, there's a short moment, and I took a screenshot for you. 4327. As the away team returns from the bridge, Data is sitting in the captain's chair next to Troy, and it looks like Brent was probably fucking around before they called roll and making Marina laugh right before they called action.
I think they had such a good time on that set.
There you go. That is the frame, the moment the camera cuts into this, and it looks like Brent is probably just telling jokes, like firing off dad jokes left and right or something, you know?
That's hilarious.
Everybody gets to their places, and Picard calls up the God satellite and offers to remove the colonists in the adjoining solar system. All you got to do is give us a signal. And rather ambiguously, the God satellite disappears without a word.
Typical God, you really don't know what they want.
Right.
Everything is vague.
What a shit communicator. Yeah. Picard was hoping for more, and Geordi's like, more what? I'm glad that thing's gone. But Picard was hoping to learn more about it. But since that's no longer possible, off to the next adventure.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'll be glad to be relieved of this cargo.
Me too.
It is done, and perhaps just as well.
Yeah, but you know, I learned something today.
I sincerely hope that this is the last time that I find myself here.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? You see, of all the species, yours cannot abide stagnation. Change is at the heart of what you are. That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Do you remember, and you may not have been old enough to care about the news back then, but
okay,
this episode made me think of this news story. It was in 1994.
Okay.
And this white kid, about 18 years old, goes to Singapore and did some crimes. Do you remember that at all?
No, I don't. What was the kid's name?
That
I would be more likely to remember.
I don't remember.
Okay.
What he did was like vandalize some cars. I think he stole some road signs and did some other shit.
Searching.
Michael Peter Fay.
Michael Fay? Maybe that sounds right.
Yeah.
In 1994?
Yeah. Yep.
So the police, the Singapore authorities caught him, and they were going to give him a public caning and 4 months in prison, which is a normal sentence for that. And of course, everyone was up in arms. Oh no, he didn't know what I'm sorry, but what he did was a crime. It's a crime here,
Right.
but then he went over and did it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some people who were completely split. Some were like, oh no, he didn't know. And then I just remember thinking, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Because, you can't go over to someone's country and just expect to do anything you want and not get, penalized for it.
Yeah. I feel like the premise here was weak to the outcome. Like, there is no arguing in my mind that if we show up on an alien planet or in another country, and that planet does not provide its laws explicitly or make them available for me to go learn about, then ignorance is absolutely a legitimate defense.
I got another story for you. The one that we all know about this one. Brittany Griner. Just 2 years ago. And now a Black woman, also part of the LGBTQ community, and I bring the race into it because for me it affects how people react to it.
Yes.
So she's well known in the women's basketball arena, and she goes over to Russia to play for a Russian team during her off season. A lot of women players did because they need to make extra money because they don't make as much as men do.
Right.
She packed in a hurry and accidentally packed her vape cartridge. I don't know if it was CBD or THC, but either way, it's a product of cannabis. The sniffer dogs ratted her out. And she ended up spending 10 months in a Russian gulag. So Russia has like a super strict policy on any sort of drugs. But they also have the Russian society does not accept LGBTQ at all.
Right.
So for her to have to still spend, and she spent she did it. She spent 10 months in a Russian gulag. She wrote a book. She said she considered taking her life several times. I don't know what the trial was like, but, like I said, Russia has harsh drug laws, and they have no exceptions for cannabis under any circumstance. So, so like Wesley, she's like, yeah, I plead guilty. I did it.
Yeah, right.
Even though I didn't, there was no.
It was an accident. It was a mistake. There was
no intent.
Right.
There was no malicious intent.
Yes.
I just packed in a hurry, and it's okay over here. So, yeah. And then, of course, we know we did some dealings by the government and got her released early by trading a criminal for her.
Right. Ugh.
But the point is, we know all laws aren't the same for all countries, regardless of intent. And you could be held accountable for your actions. I mean, try to do your due diligence, but there's still, who has time to read all these laws when you go to somebody's country?
I mean, I even think that statement makes me think about like laws between the states. We have this weird states' rights bullshit here in the US. So, like I often talk about performing weddings as, part of my role in the Humanist Society. And wedding laws are managed at the county level. Like, I mean, there are some state level laws, but the processes and what you have to do and how you go about it and who can do it are managed by the counties. And so from county to county, you have all of these different rules and shit. And so, if you're on a cross-country road trip and you stop off in some bumblefuck Arkansas town that like still has
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
No offense to us.
It still has like fucking sundown laws or whatever, and you didn't know.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. How you be expected to know all the laws?
Yeah, I feel like I forget who said it in this episode about absolute.
Yeah, Picard.
I think Picard.
Yeah,
but absolute, because you gotta have some flexibility for like intent. Like like tripping over a flower bed isn't a crime. Now, if you take a fucking hoe to somebody and purposely, chop up someone's flower bed, that's intent.
Right.
That's malicious intent. That's completely different.
the other question beyond intent is like severity of the crime and who does it harm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, I harmed some flowers that you can replant or whatever, right? So the impact of the crime is very low.
Right.
But another question of justice this episode made me think about, and with all those criticisms, right? I mean, this is still a beloved old episode and I still love it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like Picard. I just wanted more, you know?
Yeah, I did too.
So like stealing food from a massive multi-billion-dollar grocery store chain to provide for your family, we would consider any theft as a crime.
That's a crime.
Right? But the real crime should be that we aren't simply providing food to everyone, which we could do tonight if not for our greedy, selfish, capitalist supervillains.
Oh, don't get me started on the society, capitalist society. We just had something happen recently. Huge story.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
About a United Healthcare CEO.
Right. Yeah, the real injustice here is that we don't provide health care. Medical, dental, mental, vision should all be provided as a right.
And we deny people. We as consumers and people who live in America, we pay into this pool for insurance, hoping that they will have our backs.
Yeah.
And then we get denied if we file a claim for something that we need to live. And that just feels awful. And have that happen enough time. When they do it, it's not murder.
Yep.
But when we do it, meaning the consumers, an individual, and we take a life, it's murder.
Yep.
So murder is murder.
Yeah. So the real injustice is that we don't provide health care, not that Luigi got radicalized by dealing with our greedy health insurance system and shot a healthcare executive. Is it a crime?
Right.
Yes.
Yes, it is a crime. Not condoning. I'm not going to go out and kill people, and I wouldn't want anyone to do that.
But what is the injustice
right
in that scenario? And the injustice is that the healthcare system is broken and
also murdering
does not
people.
work for us. Yeah, right. Yep.
And it is also murdering people.
Yep.
So if that's murder is murder, if that's your stance, and justice should be justice. But whatever.
Yeah, the real injustice is that we don't provide housing and jobs as a right to all people, not that people panhandle on the street corners between being chased from one property to another with their tent by the police, if the police even let them keep their tent.
Right.
The injustice is the social construct that allows for these situations to drive people to crime.
Exactly. So you want to cut down on crime?
Yeah.
It's not the punishment.
Nope. No.
It's the fucking cause of the crime is where you need to start.
Yep.
And that is people not having what they need.
Did anybody die in this episode?
No, maybe Wesley's
boner
pride. But no one died.
Wow. All right.
We can handle all the pleasantries later. Now, let's get down to business.
I am willing to pay handsomely for you.
I think you've had a little too much to drink.
Now, what do you know about my money?
Your money?
The money he stole!
You stole his money?
Those vouchers I gave you were every bit as good as Latinum.
You can spend Latinum almost anywhere. Those vouchers are only good at your bar.
As always, we want to thank all of the patrons who support the show and everyone for listening, but we especially want to thank our founding admirals. Special thanks to Russell, Allie, Peter, Sarah, Sherry, and Bruce. And this week, Allie, we have a couple of new patrons to announce.
Woohoo! You gotta do that. You gotta do that song.
A big special welcome to Lieutenant Killer Cotton Shizno.
Damn. I want to hear the story behind that name.
I do too. Like, maybe this is like an alien race. This is an alien name. Killer Cotton Shizno. I don't know. Or it's got to be some pop culture reference that I'm just not getting.
We're too old. We're too old.
I know, right? But also then we'd like to welcome aboard Ensign Crystal.
Crystal. Hi, Crystal.
Welcome.
That's a nice normal name. It sounds normal. Be sure and join Discord so you can see how normal we're not.
Yes, for sure. Everybody should join our Discord and everybody should join our Patreon. So again, a welcome to Killer Cotton, Shizno, and Crystal. And now we'll listen to Allie performing as a Ferengi, how you too can join the Patreon and why you should.
Greetings, savvy prophet seekers of the Alpha Quadrant. Your ears have stumbled upon the lucrative opportunity of a lifetime. Humanist Trek. Now, don't just stand there like a packwid waiting for enlightenment. Let's talk business. First, unleash your linguistic prowess and leave us a review. It's like planting the seeds of profit in the fertile soils of the podcasting market. Smart, right? Now, for those truly desiring a spot in the Ferengi Hall of Commerce, consider becoming a patron. It's not charity. It's an investment in the future of comedic prosperity. Early access, exclusive profit-branded merch, and bonus content so valuable, you'll feel like you discovered a cache of hidden gold-pressed latinum. Don't be a rule of acquisition violator. Head to patreon.com/humanisttrek and pledge as low as $3 a month. The return on your investment? Priceless laughter! And the satisfaction of knowing you're supporting the galaxy's next big profit venture. Profit is our mission, and with your help, we'll be laughing all the way to Grand Nagus' bank.
Let me remind you that taking business advice from a female is a violation of Ferengi law. Shame on you!
I hope you're satisfied.
Captain, Starfleet Academy is requesting an update on our estimated arrival.
Finalists, please take your seats.
I must admit you have a very fast mind.
Once I realized it was a trick question, there was only one answer.
Although only one student will be chosen for the Academy, any of you could easily qualify. Candidates, good luck.
You got called to the superintendent's office. It's a story I'd like to hear.
Becca is back with us now for the exciting conclusion to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge. For the episode Justice, remind us the question.
What permanent change to the set is first seen in this episode?
That's right, permanent change. Allie said they added a seat for Wesley, and I made a dumb comedic answer, which was absolutely wrong.
It was hilarious, but it was wrong.
What was your question?
That lamp that we thought was the answer to last week's question. they took that lamp out of the guest quarters. Okay, so what's the right answer? Is Allie gaining on me now?
No.
Oh.
Neither of you got this one.
I had an opportunity to show the captain my superior capabilities, and I failed. I can never recover from that.
Damn. The wall panels on the corridors are painted a dove gray. Up until this point, the panels were a hard-to-maintain and more reflective brushed aluminum finish.
What
for
the
fuck's
actual
sake.
fuck?
Well, I think they also added a chair. They added a chair too.
Yeah, but that wasn't the question that I asked Allie.
Damn.
I know, but I'm just saying they did that too.
Okay, so they repainted the walls. Big deal. All right.
Well,
fine.
Okay, next week then we'll be reviewing Star Trek: The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 9, The Battle, a thought-altering device controlled by a Ferengi captain seeking revenge on Picard for his son's death threatens the life of the captain and the safety of the Enterprise. What do you remember about this episode?
Fucking Ferengis. Not a whole lot.
I vividly remembered this episode with the little thought-controlling device thing. The Ferengi show up and they've got like Picard's old ship somehow. And then there's like mind control. Yeah. Okay, what's our question for The Battle?
This episode includes the only time Dr. Crusher refers to Commander Riker as what?
What?
Number 1?
Oh, that might be right.
Or Will? Or number 1? I have no idea. I'll say number 1.
I'm going to join you on that and say number 1 as well. Because I can't think of... Because though they've called him Bill in the original... Like, it was in the pilot and then in the second episode.
They've switched to Will.
They said it. No, they were still saying Bill. I think Will... we still haven't come to Will yet. Oh, wait a minute. Does Riker take over like, do they mutiny? Do they mutiny again?
No.
Does Riker take over?
They don't mutiny him, I don't think.
So it's not like Captain Riker, right? It's not that.
No.
Okay. All right, we'll go. I'm with you. Number
I think
one.
it's number one.
Okay.
I don't know.
And if you'd like to play along, you know how to do that. Head out to your social media, share this episode, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll figure out what the answer is and pick a winner. Next time on Humanist Trek, Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 9, The Battle.
Glory to your house.
Make it so, number one.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcast. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.